Welcome to the NCDWI Guide podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NCDWI guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 135 of the NCDWI Guy podcast. On today's episode, we got some practical advice coming your way. What to do in the event of a traffic stop. We talk all the time as lawyers about what are a client's rights when they are stopped, when they are arrested, when they are taken down to the station. When do Miranda rights come into play? What rights does a person have related to chemical analysis? All of these things, we've spent a number of episodes talking about this, but what we generally don't talk about is what does the ideal traffic stop look like, both for a client and in terms of officer safety. And this is an important thing for us to communicate to the public because we are a part of good traffic stop safety and traffic stops between clients and the police going well in the future. We're a part of that. We're a part of that change. This is something that I've seen a number of defense lawyers kind of give a list of rights on the back of their business cards. You know, ask to speak with your attorney, invoke your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Give a list of rights that a client has, and I think that's really powerful. If you got a business card with that on the back, first of all, it's more likely that the client's going to keep that business card. Because there's actually something useful on it as opposed to just some name and number that they could look up on the internet anyways. But secondly, you're actually giving something of value to the client as opposed to just giving your meaningless information. You're giving something of value. And so it's much more likely a client will hold on to that. Insurance companies, auto insurance companies do the same thing when it comes to a proof of insurance card that you stick into your glove box. On the back of it, it will say, here's what to do in the event of an accident. It'll have like 5 steps of what you should do in the event of an accident. I've seen this on multiple proof of insurance cards, and it makes sense, right? Like great to know what your rights are after the fact, but much more powerful and helpful to know, hey, going into a investigation, going into an interaction with a police officer, what are my rights? Yes, that's important. But also, how can this interaction go as kind of smoothly as possible? How can I kind of mitigate with my knowledge the damage that could be done in this interaction? And so again, I think it's valuable to know you have the right to remain silent. Yes. And what communications are required, that type of thing. Basically, what are you compelled to do? But what I'm going to do today is lay out what I think is kind of a real value point in terms of communicating effectively with a police officer during a normal traffic stop scenario. I gave a number of presentations when I first started my practice. I did this with different groups. I did this at local community college, UNCA. We did it with several Spanish speaking groups because I thought it was important, especially for Hispanic clients where there's a language barrier, to kind of know what the ideal scenario is in the event that they are stopped. But what we're going to do today is kind of go through the blueprint for what I see as the ideal scenario. Now, there's going to be some people that say, well, this is garbage advice because you don't have to do this. You're not compelled to act that way. And that's true. What I'm about to say, you're not going to be required if you are stopped by police to do most of these things. A couple of them you are required to do, but most of them are just kind of, again, good practical advice for basically kind of de-escalating the situation with the police officer. So again, none of this is compulsory. And so I think most of the time when we think about rights related to a person that is stopped, we kind of say, well, the police can't do that. The officer can't ask that question. The officer's not allowed to search the vehicle here. And again, all of those things are important for us to understand. We want to have a good idea of what rights exist in terms of when the police have kind of overstepped constitutional or legislative boundaries. We want to know that. And as defense lawyers, we're responsible for protecting our clients in those situations. However, always holding that line is not going to necessarily be the best thing to do in a interaction with a police officer. It's not always going to get you to where you want to go, taking that kind of very defensive approach to the interaction. So let's just think about this from the officer's perspective for just a moment. And I think that this is, again, something that we as attorneys can be very valuable in passing this information along to clients, passing this information along to our children, passing this information along to the community to do our part in de-escalating police to civilian interactions. I think that we have a real responsibility on that front as members of the bar to do our part in educating people about what good police interaction looks like. So if you think about this from the officer's perspective, every single traffic stop can end in death, right? Every single traffic stop, officers that have been on the job for 5+ years likely know somebody that has been shot during a normal routine traffic stop, has been run over by a tractor trailer or a car passing by as they are doing a traffic stop. That, they see the monuments on the side of the road. You drive over bridges that are named after troopers or other officers where there has been a traffic stop that has ended in an officer's death. So that is the starting point for every police interaction. So just know that officers that come in hot to those interactions, and this isn't true of every officer. There's plenty of officers that are very calm and quiet when there's a traffic stop, that don't come in kind of hot and ready to kind of get the details and get in somebody's face when they come up to the window. There's plenty of officers that have like a calm demeanor when they come up to a window. But if you have an officer that comes in hot, the reason likely why is because of either past personal experience of interactions at a traffic stop or just knowing that these things can go wrong. Just knowing that this is the situation. So I think officers need training, better training in terms of how to de-escalate situations. And that's not something that really this podcast is meant to do. This episode is meant to do. They need better training in terms of de-escalating the situation. They've got to come in mentally prepared to do everything they can to make sure that the interaction remains as calm and civil as it possibly can. But the person literally in the driver's seat of this interaction is the person that's sitting in the driver's seat, the person that is stopping. So I'm going to go through a number of just practical things that you can do to de-escalate the situation from the officer's perspective. The officer doesn't know you from Jack when they pull you over. They don't know anything about who's in the vehicle, if there's illegal drugs, weapons, if the person is on medications that has been drinking. Like they have no knowledge coming up to that window about how they're going to be treated by the person inside. So everything that you can do, in my opinion, to de-escalate the situation is going to be of value. So here's some things that I have talked to groups about. This is what I would advise clients to do in terms of somebody saying, in a police interaction, what should this look like? Again, one more thing before we dive into these practical tips. We've all seen videos where the interaction between a client and an officer is just totally absurd. Sometimes from the officer's side of things, sometimes from our client side of things, sometimes from both. But we've all seen bad interactions between police and drivers on the roadway that are getting stopped for whatever reason. This is meant to kind of help in whatever way we can minimize those type of interactions, those type of interactions that can become dangerous for both people that are involved in that communication, in that interaction. So point number one, and this is going to sound simple, but it's actually a little bit more complicated than maybe it seems, is pull over. So if you are stopped, blue lights go on. This sounds simple, right? Pull over, but it's not always simple. And here's the reason why. A lot of times somebody is in a catch-22 of there isn't a great place to stop immediately. And so if they continue to drive to find a safe space to pull over, then, officer then comes in and why didn't you pull over when I stopped you? If they do stop, either in the roadway or kind of in a bad area, kind of not a great place to park right off. It's kind of like, well, why did you stop in that space? That space wasn't a safe place to pull over. So there's kind of a catch-22. So if you see blue lights go on, pull over. And here's some practical tips of making this, again, a de-escalation point. Turn on your flashers. Turn on your flashers on your vehicle and decrease speed. Now, don't go so slow that you're going to become dangerous. If you're driving on the interstate, slow below the speed limit. Don't go 20 on the interstate, but slow below the speed limit so the officer knows that you are slowing down. And then turn on your flashers if you're pulling over. Make sure you use your turn signals, blinker, and find a safe space to pull off of the roadway. Again, keep that speed at a slow speed. If there's no exit that's coming up, pull off onto the median, because again, the longer that you drive before stopping, if there is a safe place to stop, that officer thinks this person is either thinking about running or is not responding to my signals and is not aware of what's going on. So the sooner that you can show the officer, I see you, using your flashers and slowing down, the more leeway you are going to be given to find an appropriate stopping point, to find an appropriate space to stop. So use those flashers and a reduction of the speed to show the officer, I'm complying with your stop. I just need to find a safe space to park. So that's point number one. Point number two, when you come to a stop, turn off your vehicle. Turn off your vehicle. Put your vehicle in park and turn off the engine. Why? Because again, the officer doesn't know that when he gets out of his vehicle and begins to approach yours, you're not going to just stick that thing back and drive and take off, right? So as soon as the officer gets out of his vehicle, the officer is vulnerable. The vehicle, to some extent, is a protection point from other cars on the roadway, from your vehicle. Your vehicle is a weapon to the officer. You could back up into the officer. You could take off while he's standing beside you. He's vulnerable. So if you turn off the engine, you're showing, again, there's no reason to be worried about me. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to mistakenly move my vehicle and run over your foot or knock you down. Turn off the vehicle. Point number three, stay inside the vehicle. All of the time, I see people getting out of their vehicle almost immediately after the stop, and they want to jump out and explain what was going on. They want to explain what was happening, why they were speeding, that they didn't see this or that stop sign or whatever it might be. They want to explain. The officer may take several minutes to approach your car. He may be running your tag. He may be trying to get information about whether you have a criminal history or not, whether the driver has a criminal history. Don't get out of the vehicle until the officer asks you to get out of the vehicle. Stay in your car. That allows the officer to be in control of the interaction. He doesn't have to kind of change tasks and kind of do something out of order of how they want to do it. And again, if we're trying to de-escalate things, letting them go, allowing the officer the time to go through the proper procedures and protocols is going to give them that opportunity. So stay in your vehicle. Point number 4, keep your hands in plain view. Keep your hands in plain view. Put your hands up on the steering wheel, right? The officer, especially if you're pulled over at nighttime, cannot see what's going on in the car. They don't know if you might be trying to reach for a weapon, trying to get rid of something, trying to put something out of view. Keep your hands on the steering wheel so that the officer can see that you're not doing anything. I used to tell people to put their hands out of the vehicle. I think that's a little strange. That's a little bit of a weird kind of interaction, almost like the kind of puts the officer on alert that they need to actually do some sort of additional investigation. So just keeping your hands in plain view and not reaching around in the vehicle. Connected to this point is point number 5, which is ask for permission to retrieve documentation. When the officer actually comes up and starts speaking with you, don't have already been reaching into the glove box and pulling out different documents, trying to find your insurance. Wait until you're asked to find something. If you need to locate documents, if the officer says, I need your license and your registration, you say, my license is in my wallet that's in my back pocket. Can I reach for that? My registration is in the glove box. May I reach into the glove box to get my registration? If it's taking you a minute to find the registration, I'm sorry, I don't normally look at this too often. I can't remember exactly where I put it. I know it's in here. But explaining and asking for permission of where you're reaching, again, de-escalation. We're letting the officer know, hey, I'm hearing you. I'm going to try to get you the documents that I need to get you as quickly as possible. And I don't want to put anything out there that's going to cause some sort of a escalation of the situation or kind of cause you to get hot. Point number 6, turn on your interior lights. Turn on your interior lights. So again, this should happen almost as soon as you pull over and turn off your car. Turn on the interior lights. Why? Because again, we're telling the officer, look, you can see into my car. I'm not doing anything problematic. This allows you to see hands easier. Basically, if you've got the interior lights turned on and your hands up, you're not looking for anything. It's showing the officer, I'm just waiting for you. I'm here. I'm ready for, your investigation to proceed however it's normally going to proceed. But again, you can see everything that's happening in the vehicle. So turn on those interior lights, again, de-escalating the officer from the officer's vantage point of trying to figure out if there's anything odd or strange going on in the car. They'll be able to see the occupants of the vehicle that way, tell how many people there are. It puts the officer in a better perspective. We are afraid as human beings of what we cannot see. We're afraid of the dark. I mean, this is an easy way to help de-escalate the situation by showing the officer, hey, this is not something you need to be kind of coming in high anxiety about. I'm trying to showcase what's going on in the car. Number 7, roll down the window. This is one that I see. I think it's out of Florida. So maybe if you live in Florida, consult with a local attorney. This is again, just practical advice. I've seen people put up on the side of the window something with their light, going through a license checkpoint. They just put their license, and I'm not answering any questions, and don't roll the window down. If you don't roll the window down, it's weird, right? Okay. I mean, again, whether or not there is a legal right to that, I guess it depends if you're drunk going through a checkpoint, then maybe you've got to be more on the defensive in terms of what rights that you are enacting. But in a normal traffic stop, to again de-escalate the situation with the police officer, you're trying to show the officer that, hey, I'm here to communicate with you, get you the information that you need so that we can get this completed and I can go on my merry way. So what is a barrier to communication? Well, a physical barrier between the officer and you when you can't communicate is a problem. Roll the window down so that you can speak to the officer. I think if you don't roll the window down, that either is communicating to the officer that there's something weird or illegal going on in the car. If you only roll the window down a little bit, I've definitely seen this in multiple reports in terms of trying to like hide the odor of alcoholic beverage. It's not going to help if you are trying to kind of like keep that barrier in place. It's telling the officer something is getting hidden. And again, you may have the legal right to hide that. So that's not what this episode is about. But if we're trying to de-escalate the situation with the officer, roll that window down all the way so that you can have a easy, clear communication with the officer. And then number 8, and this is going to maybe be, again, common sense, self-explanatory, but I see it enough not happen in video and in conversation with clients that I just know how important this is. Be polite. Be polite with the officer. Again, even if the officer comes in hot and is at a high anxiety level, seems to be kind of at a high stress point, be polite. Yes, sir. Let me get that for you. If you're being polite in the interaction, that is a huge form of de-escalation. And this is one that can directly have an impact on the outcome of your case, because many a time in officer notes on a North Carolina issued citation, I have seen polite and cooperative, or sometimes it ends with suspect PC, short for polite and cooperative. So sometimes in the officer notes, you'll see that indication that the person was polite and cooperative. And what does that do? Well, it tells the DA this person may be deserving of a reduction or a dismissal. I have seen many tickets reduced or dismissed, even bad speeding tickets, reckless driving charges, where the outcome has gone very favorable for the defendant, even if they are issued a citation by the officer, has gone very favorable because the officer has indicated that the person was polite and cooperative. On the flip side, where the person is not polite and cooperative, and I won't use any expletives here, but where the person is being a jerk with the officer, there will sometimes in those same note sections be a note that, person was impolite, to put it politely. A person was impolite. Do not dismiss this ticket. Indication to the DA, don't dismiss. And so, a ticket that might have been a very easy ticket in normal circumstances to get reduced or dismissed, because this person acted like a jerk to the officer, the ticket does not get dismissed. So again, these are not kind of right advice points. This does not indicate what your rights are as a person that is stopped. But again, I think that one thing that the criminal defense bar can really do to promote safe police civilian interactions is to outline for our clients, for our community, what does a responsible driver look like in the event of a traffic stop. And these are some points that we can give to our client to help de-escalate future interactions with police during a traffic stop. And this is going to help us do our part in promoting safer communities. Hope that this advice has been helpful, and look forward to speaking with you again next time. If you found the information in this podcast to be valuable, I simply ask that you pay it forward and share this podcast with another member of the legal community. Also, if you would leave us a rating or a review on whatever platform you are listening on, I would greatly appreciate it.